And you're very welcome back to the Irish Wheelchair Association for our panel discussion. I'm delighted to have Danny O'Mahony, who is a former Demons player, still very much part of the Demons club, and now playing for Leicester in the Division 1. Next to me on my right hand side is Alan Milton. Alan is the head of communications at the GAA, and I have to say, one of the easiest heads of communications that you'll ever meet. Alan, you're very welcome.
Good to be here.
And on the far right is the big man of the party, Michael McCormack, former chairman of Leicester and heavily involved with our sponsors, Pyrabel. Michael, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Declan.
I'm going to start with Alan because Alan is the visitor with us here tonight. Alan, we spoke at length over the last few weeks about different things that you were involved in, playing a little bit of basketball. You're obviously a GAA person, going to James School and then playing with Round Tears. Yeah. You saw most of the game tonight. What do you think?
I was blown away, Declan, to be honest with you. It's been a long time since I've been in such close proximity to a game. The athleticism, the fitness of the teams, and without meaning to sound patronising in any way whatsoever, I think this level of sport deserves a higher platform and more attention. I had to go searching in the Irish Times today for the fixture. Now, I'm not saying that the Irish Times isn't doing a good job at what it does, but the community spirit when I walked in the door tonight, the vibe, I know you're going for a league, the exhibition at half time, and the streaming and the whole media and PR aspect of what I've seen here tonight has blown me away, to be frank about it. And I think a lot of clubs and a lot of sports could learn a lot from what I've seen here this evening. And I know something for nothing that I'll be looking to the guys in my club who are PR minded to see if there's any way that we could copy your streaming model, because it's been hugely impressive.
And it has been very successful, and the guys, Jim and Pete, doing a great job, because the quality of the streaming has been superb.
Yeah, the whole package, and I saw the scores on the top of the screen, the commentary which I was listening to your good self doing, and I think it's a challenge about bringing this to a wider audience, because it's all well and good having a brilliant package. We've got to let more people know that it exists, and I think the authorities, the league, for want of a better term, could probably look and see the model and the package that you have at a club level and see is it possible to replicate at a more senior level. And I say that without any agenda, Declan, because I don't know enough about basketball to cast aspersions on anybody. But what I've seen here this evening, I make the observation that it deserves to be known and to be interacted with by more people.
Danny O'Mahony, it's been an unusual week for people in Demons. Obviously, in last weekend's game, a disappointment for them. But it's still up for grabs, because Neptune are not going to roll over tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly, Declan. Like last week, Demons losing to Leicester obviously will be hard to take for the lads. I wasn't there myself, but I spoke to all the lads, and they were disheartened after the loss. But at the end of the day, between Demons and Leicester, there was never much between them.
Not true. True. Yeah.
We got the rub of the green in the cup semi-final. Also, the last time before Christmas we played up here, we were lucky to come out on top in that. So, they were always probably going to catch us once. It's just the way they caught us. Now, tomorrow's game, some people are saying that will Neptune be up to much? Will Neptune put it up to them? I have a lot of good friends in Neptune. I played football with Mick McGinn. I went to school with Gary Walsh. I've known Jernoon in a long time, Roy Downey, all these fellas. At the end of the day, these are sports people. I can't see them,
rolling over and dying.
Into the Upper Glamire tomorrow and be like, here you go, lads. Even though obviously the Demons-Neptune rivalry, and people are saying, will Neptune roll over so Demons don't win the league? At the end of the day, if Neptune go,
no team would do that.
Exactly, yeah. And if Neptune go out and beat Leicester, and Leicester don't get the bonus point, they're not exactly handing them the league, because it has to go to a playoff game.
Yes.
And then maybe the best team will win,
Leicester were impressive again tonight.
They were. They are. It's like I've come to a lot of their games, so I have a couple of friends at Leicester, and as you said at the start of the year, I was playing the Division 1 team with Jermaine and the lads, so I have come to a lot of their games. I do think the good thing about Leicester, they're very disciplined. Johnny's done a good job with them. They all know, everyone knows their role. You can see tonight the amount of people that got in the rotation. I think he went 12 deep tonight, and everyone from 1 to 12 contributed in that.
Michael, you followed the club this year particularly because of your sponsorship involvement. But you've been to virtually every game in every corner of the country. You must be proud of what's going on in both the girls and the guys' teams.
Absolutely, Declan. One of the great things about Colester is that it's such a wide-ranging club, from underage, juvenile programme, right through to senior, and then the Premier League, both men and women. And it's fantastic, and it gives a great boost and lift to go around the country, to see the way the teams perform week in, week out. And you know yourself, over the years, not everything has been perfect for the club, and the teams have had ups and downs. This year we've had many injuries on the girls' side, on the guys, which is thankful. And no, it's wondrous, and it's great. It's great to go. Well, I was down in the game against Montenotte with the girls, and it was wonderful. The girls managed to win the game, and over the last number of years, Colester have been just on the outside looking in, subject to 20-point defeats and whatever. And it's fantastic for the young team to now be emerging and actually able to compete with and become another force in what was a 3-horse race. It's now opened up to 5 or 6 teams, and it's fantastic, and it's good for the game.
It's going to be a tough game tonight, because Colester have only lost to one team twice in the league, and that's WIT. So that's going to be a tough one.
It's going to be super tough. Waterford are a very good team, and always have been. They have many super players have come from Waterford, and even a couple of weeks ago I was down at an under-13 tournament in Limerick, and the Waterford programme, the Waterford under-13 team were there, and they were playing. And Waterford never lie down. They're a superb club, and they're going to give us a real tough run.
Alan, back to you, and as an expert in the public relations end of things. Is there anything that you've seen tonight that we could do as a club better?
Well, look, I suppose, and you're talking to one of your sponsors here, finance is so important to make any club work. And we've just come out of the harshest recession since the foundation of the state, so sponsorship took a hammering for all codes and all teams and all codes. Just from your streaming, I don't know if it would be possible to brand the hall, Declan, any better.
Yes.
To sell yourselves. Now, I know this facility is probably not yours.
It's not. No, it's belonged to the Irish Wheelchair
Association. I think you have a fantastic package to offer sponsors with regards to streaming. A very impressive match programme. A full house here, a large crowd, a mixed demographic of boys and girls, men and women, young and old. Like, basketball really ticks all the boxes. We're in a comfortable, warm environment. You're not on a sideline like I'll be in the morning in the freezing cold.
Yes.
Basketball has so much going for it in the winter. As a winter sport, I think it can dovetail very easily with codes that are played during the summer. And you only have to list people like Kieran Donaghy and Michael Darmacaulay to see the transfer of your skills from the basketball code to our own code of Gaelic football, and indeed others. That I think if you did a survey, and they've been done before, about participation levels for young people,
it's huge.
Basketball always holds high.
Yeah.
Why does it not command that similar level of interest when we get to the senior game? Now, I know it's been through the ringer. I believe you don't have an international team at the moment, for example.
That's right. Yeah.
If I had a hand in basketball, or if it was possible, there has to be an international representative team for kids and for aspiring players to aim for. I think it's a given. Now, I don't know enough about the economics of the game or the financial constraints, but an Irish team, as we saw at the Aviva today, is a very powerful entity. And if you can possibly have a team like that representing Ireland against other codes, it has to be a cornerstone of everything you do, I would have thought.
Even for the Aussie rules compromise thing, it's still huge crowds coming to Croke Park and to see these games.
We surveyed the players, Declan, after every series, and we asked them, is this worth, what was your experiences of it? Every single time we do it, they come back with, we want a representative body. It's the one gaping hole in our armoury, is we don't have an international outlet per se. And this works. Some would argue it's a little bit contrived. I'm a fan of it. I think it's a really good game, played well. But you have a ready-made code that's played in every corner of the globe, played at a very high level at the Olympics and in America. I think it'd be fantastic to have an Irish team, to stoke up patriotic interest, and I hope it comes to pass in the not too distant future.
Michael, you go to most of the soccer internationals. Do you agree with Alan that we really do need to have an international setup back in basketball?
It's very important. I mean, for all young aspiring children wanting to come through to Super League level. The international program is just something that lifts them out of their club, out of their region, and puts them in. It shows them what the game is what's happening to the game in other countries, and it's a very, very worthwhile and useful tool.
It's great to see the likes of, as Alan correctly said, the likes of everyone from Liam McHale, Jason Sherlock.
You mentioned a few I forgot there, Declan, too, as well.
Yeah, and the other guy from the midfielder from Mayo, whose name escapes me.
Ronan McGarity.
Ronan McGarity. You know, these guys all excelled at basketball. But a guy that I was talking to just during the week at the Soccer International was Darren Randolph, who was also a schoolboy international as a basketball player. You know, so there is a great crossover in sports, and it's even in rugby, because you've got Martin Provisors, who's now on the Latvian, I didn't even know they had one, but he's on the Latvian international rugby team, and he plays basketball over here for DCU.
Yeah, it's fantastic. There's so much crossover, and one of the difficulties about basketball is the season is actually a little bit short. You know, the season starts in September, it ends in March. It's a long period of shutdown. So people who are on top of their game, they want to keep training. They want to have something something going on, and that's why Gaelic football is working so well at the girls' level. A number of our under-13s today, they were playing a basketball game at half one, and then at half three they were turning out for the local GAA team, and it's just fantastic to see the girls, to see the coordination. It gives them an extra dimension, and that helps their basketball hugely.
Alan, I'm just going to have it before I go back, because I want to talk to Danny, but another sport that we're finding in our club now, we've got one or two of the girls now on this team are camogie players. So again, it's a crossover of camogie to basketball as well.
I think the wider debate here, and has been touched upon, we have such a challenge with obesity in this country now, and there's so many distractions with Xboxes and everything else that weren't necessarily there when we were growing up. The idea was, on our summer holidays, where we were thrown out the door at 8:30, and we came home for lunch and we're gone again till 8:30, and we had a ball of some type in our hands. I think it's fantastic that children, or people of all ages, have an outlet of sport, to make a connection with. It teaches you how to win, how to lose. It keeps you fit. You create a network of friends, which are so useful later on for career opportunities, etc., etc. Sport is so important, and I harp on about this all the time, Declan. I think it's been the underinvestment in sport since the foundation of our state has been a crime. I think if it wasn't for clubs such as this tonight, and indeed my own, and so many other countless clubs, we wouldn't have a sporting infrastructure in the country. And it beggars belief what sort of Ireland we'd live in if we didn't have it. So, look, you've touched on camogie there, and ladies football has been mentioned. At the moment in the GAA, we're trying to do what you already have, and that's bring all our codes under one umbrella. I think we're along a lot of ground to cover to bring people in, because they like their own autonomy. But I think the sport that offers every member of a family an outlet is a winning sport, and a sport that has a better chance of succeeding and making a connection with a wider audience.
Danny, that was an interesting thing Alan said there, and again, you're a very good example of what sport and family and so on, because you've got a girlfriend who's involved in basketball, whose dad was one of the best basketball coaches here in this country.
Yeah, well, just even alone from that, my girlfriend's family, the whole lot of them were involved in DCU Mercy now. As you know, Ken came here back in 84, 85, and he would have coached up in Neptune.
He also coached here.
I'm aware of that. He also came to Dublin coaching Vincent.
Yeah.
I think with his record, everyone wanted a piece of him at the time. But not only in that, just in my own family, like as in my mum's family, my mum's brother, Kerr, is the head coach of Brunel. So I have a big connection with Brunel. Also, my uncle Michael was the past chairman of Blue Demons. He was for the last 20 years, stepped down this year. So my whole family and all, it's basketball, basketball, basketball.
Can I go back to another thing that we were saying there? International basketball. Have you ever represented Ireland, and what do you think of what the lads have said?
Well, when I was growing up, it was all, I think when I first played my first Irish team, we had the sponsorship from ESB. So anyone who was playing on an Irish team when that was around really benefited from, because we didn't really have to pay for training sessions, all that. There was a bit of funding there. Now I travelled to America. Bob Lambert coached me. We played our European Championships in the arena in Dublin. We also went to the 4 countries in Scotland. So I did get great benefit out of it. No, I made great friends out of it. Just on the court there previous, Scott Kinnivan, the UL point guard, and Robbie Clark, both of them are my age. I played international basketball with them, and probably at the age of 15 we met because of the Irish team, and 10, 12 years later we're still great good buddies, like the three of us.
Alan, we talked just before we went on air about Dublin in action at Croke Park, and it's one of the things that I think is a great thing that you guys in the GAA are doing, is playing these Saturday games, Friday games, because games under lights, no matter what sport you play, creates an atmosphere.
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. The idea of leaving Croke Park idle between the months of September and May is nonsensical. So the Spring Series idea was hatched about 4 or 5 years ago. I think we're into our 5th campaign this year. Parnell Park holds about 8,000. The lowest Spring Series attendance we've had was 17, I think, which speaks for itself.
Yeah.
So look, it's been fantastic. The value for money as well. Like, it's €10 to watch those games. If you pre-purchase during the weekends, 15 on the day, and the kids' tickets are a virtual giveaway. So it's all about value for money, and I agree with you. I think we're a little bit hamstrung in that we can't have too many fixtures midweek under lights because people work no more than your own code. But the more we can have on a Friday night and on Saturday, it also means we get coverage of those games in addition to creating very interesting games under lights with nighttime atmospheres. And we need to be competing with the other codes that have a share of that media profile at times of the week. Like, it's hard to believe 25 years ago we were wedded to 3:30 on a Sunday.
On a Sunday, yeah. And if it didn't happen at that time, it didn't happen.
The fixture that changed that, Declan, was the 1991 clash between Dublin and Meath that went to 4 games, and people were scared of their lives of live television and moving away from Sunday afternoon, and there was no looking back afterwards. And then sponsorship was another thing that kicked in at the time. So it's amazing how the wheels have changed, Torm. People say the GA changes slowly, but not necessarily so. If the idea is right, the GA will move, and I'd like to think we're an open organisation that's willing to embrace change, not for the sake of change, but where people can articulate or they can show how change can benefit the organisation. That change will be embraced.
I'm going to look back to earlier on in the year and some absolutely I'm a huge fan of hurling, and some absolutely amazing games. You'd got Dublin winning against Clare. You'd got the most incredible game down in Kilkenny between Kilkenny and Tipperary. I think we played that game twice afterwards ourselves. But it's fantastic to see that hurling is taking off in the way it is. I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but it did die for a while, and now it's really back.
Hurling is such a national gem, and you don't have to be a GA person or a hurling person to make that assertion that it's too good to be the preserve of 1 or 2 counties. But these things are cyclic, they move. Nobody Kilkenny have done for the game of hurling, because they've been the greatest team ever, arguably, with players like Henry Shefflin and the manager Brian Cody. But isn't it fantastic to know in a given year that we have 5 or 6 counties that can aspire to being involved in the All-Ireland final, especially after last year when Clare came from absolutely nowhere. They were involved in a relegation playoff which they successfully navigated against Cork. So we start this year with a spring in our step, safe in the knowledge that there are so many teams that can realistically aspire to honours, and that's what it's all about. If it's a closed shop in any code, for example, when Manchester United were lording it in the Premiership, and it pains me to say that, it wasn't as interesting as it could have been or should have been. And hopefully, we announced last week at Congress that we have an investment package for aspiring counties such as Westmeath and Laois and Antrim, to try and get them to the next level, and there's going to be an investment in coaching to try and help them get there. But if you're not doing the work at grassroots and underage, and it sounds like a cliche, you simply cannot sustain it. And the shop window is the inter-county level and what we're seeing here tonight, but it's what you're doing in the schools and with the under 10 and 12s and 14s and the development squads, and it's all about having enough volunteers to oversee that work to make a difference in 10, 12, 15 years time.
Guys, we've a minute and a half before tip-off in this absolutely crucial game. Alan, first, and I'm going to ask the same question to each one of you. Can you see us in basketball being able to take it to the next step?
I can't see why not, if what I've seen here tonight is used as a template for other clubs and for the national organisation to work off.
Michael?
I think there are many challenges. There are many challenges facing basketball, and one is resources, gymnasium. It costs the same amount of money to hire a hall for an under 7, under 10 team as it does for a Super League team, and that has to be addressed. Schools are trying to fund their programs by renting out their sports halls to club teams, and it's costing basketball clubs far too much. A GAA team, soccer team, can go down to local park and play. We're paying 30, 40, 50 euros an hour. It hurts.
Danny, we've got no time left, but I want to ask the same question to you before we start.
No, I do fully agree with Mick and what he's saying. Like, really, schools, clubs, everyone needs to pull together. Because as I say, we are an indoor sport. We do require facilities. A lot of the best facilities happen to be school halls or college halls. So as he said, a lot of schools try to get the money from charging clubs prices through the roof. If schools pull together, and all
we get more gyms.
Together, we will get more gyms. Clubs that have
okay, we're ready to start. Danny, thanks a million. Alan Milton, thanks a million. Michael McCormack, thanks a million.
Thank you, Declan.
You all go off and enjoy the girls' game, and I'm going to get stuck into work again.